Have you heard of any talks about early retirement?
There has been some talk about that, but in terms of if and when that would happen, I'm not really sure if it would even happen at all. But there's always, anytime you have budget shortfalls, there's always discussions like that that take place. The only problem with that is that in the past, when they've tried to do things like that, it really hasn't worked out. It has been more of a detriment because what they're supposed to do is when they have early retirements, they're not supposed to fill those positions. But
Right.
what's been happening is they've been filling it. So it doesn't do anything to help with the pension liability that's been incurred. So they've been resistant or hesitant to look at that. But that has been always been talked about every time you have situations like this, like the one that we're in right now, where they're looking for money. So I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but it could. But normally what happens on the early retirements is that they try to move, like for people like you
Mm-hmm.
that are already eligible, um, it may not um, be as beneficial, but for those, they may like say like somebody with 25 years of service,
Yeah.
that hasn't qualified yet, they may push them to qualify so they can retire. So it just depends. I'm not sure what those specific discussions are and whether they would even do that. But I know that, the furloughs, if it does happen, people have been wondering about that. So what I did was actually I did a calculation if somebody were to wait, versus retire early.
Uh-huh.
So let's say somebody retired November 1 versus, waiting until, let's say, June 1, which is another 6 months, down the road. What would 6 or 7 months, what would that, how would that benefit them either way? Because if there's furloughs imposed, most likely that's going to wipe out the raises that you get in
Mm-hmm.
October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not going to be included in your high three. So you've already made your high three. But here's the thing, you would have collected 6 or 7 months worth of pension for an increase in your pension later on down the road. By my calculation, generally speaking, it may take another 15 to 20 years before you make up that difference by waiting. So that, for some people, it may be more beneficial to just retire early versus just waiting it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you'll get a higher pension because you have more months of service, but you'll be collecting pension along that way, 6 or 7 months worth of pension. And it'll take you between 15 to 20 something years to break even.
Oh,
For that increase that you're going to
yeah.
get
Yeah.
by waiting to retire. So it just
Wes,
depends.
Wes,
Yes.
can you go over that again? That the 15 years wait?
Yeah. So what I was saying was that I did a rough calculation with someone retiring on November 1 this year versus waiting till June 1 of next year. And so based on the raise, the teachers got a raise of about 3.23%, I believe. Yeah, so if somebody retired on November 1 versus waiting till June 1st or May 1st, it would take them about between 15 to 20 years because they're collecting a pension along the way if they retire November 1 versus May 1 or June 1. Yeah. And even if they get 5 months of additional service, that incremental increase in their average final compensation by waiting, that incremental increase would take them 15 to 20 years to break even for missing out on collecting from November 1, collecting a pension from November 1. So to break even, they would have to wait another 15 to 20 years.
So
And
what would be,
if they live longer than that, they'll make out.
So what would be the suggestion for them to do then?
It's hard because to me, it depends on their longevity.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you can and not only the longevity, but how mobile they'll be throughout their retirement years too.
Right.
Yeah, so I probably would retire on November 1 because it's going to be negligible going forward anyway beyond the, after you break even, it's not going to be a significant increase anyway. So, and the actuaries always said that it's always beneficial for the member when they retire when they're first eligible in general.
Oh.